about what is this 32 rupees a day. Of course, Caddy is above the poverty line. I'm sorry to say, Caddy is above the poverty line, because 32 rupees per person per day implies about 5,000 rupees for a family of 5. So let's just keep that in mind per month, sir. No, let's not get into this, sir. Sir. Sorry, not Vermaji. There was a gentleman before you.
Mr. Chairman, sir, my name is Vijay Saluja. You are at the center and the key position in the government. But what I have learned from your speech is more wailing and railing. What is the solution? Because the point is, who will put the thing in the proper perspective? Because we have been saying in all the seminars, this is not happening, this is not happening, but who will do the thing?
Good, thank you. Okay, Amir, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Santosh. I mean, the only thing that I wanted to point out was that, yes, ma'am, we don't talk about disability. The other questions, I'm sure, Santosh will, and that's clearly a sincere point. Thanks.
We address just a couple of questions. One is, I think that Shipra Maiti raised on access to education. Even if people can just sign their name or count the money that they get, isn't it enough? And I think it sort of follows on what Nisha also talked about, access as an issue. You know, I mean, I think that we have reached nearly 100% enrollment for primary school, class 1 to 5. We do have dropout problems for class 6 to 8 and then 8 to 10. Okay, and those have to be associated at some level with quality. You know, what happens is, if you really can't read and you're in class 6 or 7, it's torture. Okay, and so if we can't deal with issues of quality in class 1 to 5, we are going to have problems of access in subsequent classes, and that's something that's worth thinking about. I also wanted to comment on Santosh on targeting. Look, I think we're going to have to agree to differ on this one, because you are talking about a new methodology that's being proposed for a survey that has not been finished, and in fact, I'm surprised as to why it has not been finished. Okay, it's taken a very long time to conduct the socioeconomic survey, so we have no data to be able to see if this survey methodology is actually going to correlate well with the outcomes. Some of the work that Himanshu and Rinku Murgai have been doing in conjunction with the ongoing survey shows actually that targeting is not that much better. So let's keep at least empirically our mind open. That fair enough that that's the process by which we might do the targeting to begin with, but let's assess it continually to be sure that we are doing it right. After all, in 2002 also we thought we were doing it right. Okay, and I think I pretty much will leave most of the other questions for subsequent panelists.
I would just like to comment on one only, which is the one about women in politics and whether it's a matter of choice or not. I recently attended this World Economic Forum meeting that was held in December in Delhi. And there was a panel of male CEOs sitting up here and talking about why women don't rise to senior leadership or on boards of the corporate sector. And they got up and they said, it's a very difficult job, women don't want it. And they were booed by the whole audience. I mean, if you don't create an environment in which women can flourish, how can you say whether there's a demand or not a demand for that? So I would say in politics, I mean, we are 50% of the population, we have the right to have equal amount of representation. And when there are quotas at local level, you see women stepping into that role and doing a fantastic job. And their choices are very different from the choices of men. And it only happens with quotas. I mean, it is not happening anywhere in the world without it, even in the most developed countries in the world. So on this, until we do it, we won't know. We haven't had the choice or the chance to be in politics. And when we get that women's reservation bill, you will see very competent women stepping forward and ruling the nation, I think.
Let me respond to some of the issues that were raised for me. I was a bit sort of dismayed by a comment that, all I was doing was wailing and raving and ranting, and I was not telling you what the solutions were. I thought my entire presentation was exactly about solutions. But the point is, these solutions were were not there 5 years ago. We're talking about these solutions because they are solutions which still remain to be implemented. There are many things which have already been done. We've had successes. If we didn't have successes, and if we hadn't increased the allocation for education, how do you think we got to the following point? That you've got complete, universal NER, net enrollment rate at primary level. How do you think it happened? It happened with money and the right policies. Second, where do you think the money went when allocations for education were increased? Not just to building more schools, hiring more teachers, but also to creating something which didn't exist 10 years ago. We were raving and ranting about these 10 years ago because it didn't exist, because in 95, you didn't have an MDMA, a midday meal scheme. In 95, the then government came up with, or 96 it was, the then government came up with rations, 3 kilo rations to every child who will come to school. It was 4 years later that as a result of the Supreme Court judgment, it became hot cooked meals, and it revolutionized the enrollment rates, increased allocations. Now you may well question, why am I paying this 2% surcharge on my income tax which goes into elementary education? Well, this is where the money is going. So don't tell me that, I don't want to pay because it's being wasted. It's not entirely being wasted, because it has led to enormous improvement in enrollment, enormous change in and retention rates. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at 94%, 97% NER at primary level. Labor law, agree with you, sir. We're working on a paper right now, in fact, for the Planning Commission on precisely this issue. We did an analysis. This is particularly true for the organized sector. This is not obviously true for the unorganized sector. Because if you look at IDA Chapter 5, you look at, and we've done this analysis of the annual survey of industries data, and you notice a very interesting phenomenon. That, that IDA Chapter 5 says that if a company employs more than 100 workers, if it needs to throw them out, or it needs to sort of retire them or whatever, it needs to take permission from the state government. Well, and the state government usually sits on it and doesn't give it. Now, so we looked at if you look at annual survey, the ASI data, obviously for the organized sector, you see an interesting discontinuity at 100 workers. You see that the share of total firms suddenly drops after 100 workers. So there is a concentration of firms below 100, and then it there's a discontinuity there. So I'm not denying for a minute that that's something that has to be addressed, but labor laws, our biggest problem is the following, that we have too many of them. We have about 50 central government ones. On top of that, we have state ones, and there is no effort made to rationalize this, and we make this argument in the 12th plan itself. So yes, I'm raising a problem. It has to be addressed. Who's going to do it? Well, the state governments have to take the initiative, the central government too. And the point was made about sanitation or education. There are so many things that need to be done. Yes, of course. But I thought I said what needs to happen in sanitation. If you do two things, it'll happen. And I said it, and I'm only repeating for your benefit. One, don't subsidize the building of toilets. You're wasting money. It is only causing leakage. All that is happening is toilets are being built, no one is using them. So don't subsidize it. And two, focus your attention, policy, and the Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan of the MORD needs to focus its attention on collective behavior change, community-led collective behavior change, as opposed to individual subsidies for building a toilet. Okay, another round of questions.
Santosh, Santosh,
Yeah.
just one on that sanitation. There is a technology issue too, that one, toilets are very expensive. Secondly, they are all water dependent. So there is a technology angle also that needs to be.
Yeah, we've got solutions for that. I'm not going to answer your question. We'll have a bilateral. Vermaji, then the gentleman here, and the gentleman there, and then the lady there. Huh?
I'm Dr. Singla from India.
Hold on. I didn't recognize you, sir. I will recognize you when I recognize you.
Well, MC Verma, earlier at eCareer. I have no real question, but I want to make a couple of small comments. The first comment is that I liked Sonal's presentations and the new ideas which it throws, especially the various graphs and the data which comes out, and why one should not go only by numbers, but what is behind the numbers, which means the quality. The quality of education is an extremely important issue, and that is something which needs to be, well, I would say it needs to be emphasized again and again and again. I would also like to comment that the labor force participation rates have been studied in the ILO for a very long time. And what the curve which you have shown on that curve is known to the ILO for something like 40 years. I used it when I was advisor labor employment manpower in the Planning Commission. And this is not something which is unusual for India. It has happened practically all over the world. And we should be happy that we are following basically the, what happens in other countries as they develop. And the issue of why some women do not want to work, because more income is available in the family is perfectly natural. There's nothing to be sort of fought about it. It's a natural tendency, and the tendency will change as the aspirations will change. So that is another thing. The third thing,
brief, please.
last point. Your questioning of 500 million people to be trained, I have been doing that in my own papers in recent years, and I find that the government was perhaps not informed properly in 2008 when the Prime Minister gave this figure. And the figure was accepted in large audiences, including the CII and others. A figure of even 190 million, which is what you are now mentioning,
290.
is also
290.
290, which means 190 plus 100. That also is very difficult to achieve. And I have written something on that subject, which we can share separately. Thank you.
Okay. We're really running extremely late. It's 1:25 nearly. I'm going to take 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And unfortunately, we've really run out of time. I'm so sorry. In whatever order you want to do it.
Thank you. Mahmood Khan. I have one sort of observation and bit of a suggestion for those who are putting proceedings together. Observation is, I think there was a famous quote about the French and English constant war going on, and to monitor the French coming, the Britishers created a tower. Finally, the war ended, everything over, but tower carried on, and they kept on paying for it. It took another 100 years finally to dismantle it. This planning commission exercises, this is 12th one going on, we have been doing it. But unfortunately, the lessons we learn, we don't discard the old thing, they still carry on. Now we are a very big country. We have too many states. We have a constitution, federal structure. But my observation, because I grew up in the villages and have gone around the world and again come back to the village, is can we think of simplifying our planning processes? Can we use a bit of creativity? Because I'm finding that, in fact, one of the very interesting observations the other day, I was talking to a bureaucrat. Employment around the world, 70 to 90% is mostly in SMEs and informal sectors across the world. But in our country, the bureaucrats, when they lay down the KPIs for the trainers, the so-called skill building kind of capabilities, they say you must get this person 75% employed. You must get them a job. You must get them a sort of a certificate. You must monitor, and only then this thing will be released. Now we're basically talking, formal sector we are talking is 7 to 9%, 10% kind of thing. But on the other hand, jobs need to be created for these people who need to be entrepreneurs, self-employed, that kind of thing. Now, can planning commission think bold actions and liberate these bureaucrats, because the psychology is about corruption, psychology is about control. Can we sort of dismantle our country from these controls?
Okay, great.
That is the
Thank
kind
you.
of a...
Sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the mic's with you. And then the lady and then here.
Thank you. I'm George Korath from the Asian Center. You mentioned a very interesting point at one stage about the mindset. And I think you've put your finger on the elephant in the room. Because the mindset is directly linked with the cultures that we have. More in the plan about the cultural constraints which are blocking progress and development. Number two,
Sir.
If you look at the very poor numbers or parameters on women, I think again, all of us men belong to a very strong and powerful patriarchy. And this is another gorilla sitting in the room, the patriarchy. And almost nothing is being done by any commission or any bureaucracy or any university on this kind of elephant. Thank you.
Ma'am. Yes, no, it's you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bashu Vishil. I work as a freelancer in social sector. It's just basically a point I would like to make, what we have been facing while working in the community. One is that will also justify in the sense on the community toilet use. We need to involve community, particularly at the local level, in the planning process as well. One solid example, what we faced while working in Shillong, where toilets were built up, but of course no discussion with the community, etc. When we went to see why why not being used, the toilets are not being used, we talked to the community. Very quickly, it was a slum area and Muslim-dominated population. One small reason what they said, all the toilets, the commode or whatever the Indian style was, the way they were sitting, it was facing west. And when the Muslims, they pray, they do read their namaz, they have to face west. So that was a simple reason. If at the design level, the people, the implementers had talked to the community, that would have saved money, time, everything. Similarly, on the use of, on the implementation of the SJSRY schemes, our interaction with the communities in Jabalpur city area slum locations, they said, please stop this discussion. We don't want SJSRY scheme at all. We asked them why. Simple reason, we don't want beautician's course. We don't want achar making, bidi making, etc. Please don't force all that on us. Give us something that we would like to carry on. We would like to have as our career. Thank you.
Okay, good. Sir, ma'am, we've really, I don't know, I'm in Rajat's hand. Rajat, you tell me.
We are hungry.
No. But I'll expect you, ma'am, to be no more than 1 minute if I give you the floor.
I am Dr. Singla, gastroenterologist, Sir Gangaram Hospital, and from Indian Medical Association, on secretary. In the first place, I want to congratulate Nisha and Sonal for their very straightforward lectures, deliberations. One thing, three things I want to make out. One is about rural servicing. Sir, I started my career in 1975 and I went to village and I really wanted to work in village. Lowering the quality of doctors will not at all help going to the villages. Just improve the infrastructure, just bring the Gandhian village model, the things will work. I have passed 2 years in USA also and I have learnt their health system also, how they improved. This is the same way. Second, you also agree that improving infrastructure, and our politicians also agree that only 15%, and I don't say it's only 15%, I say hardly 15% goes to the consumer. So how we can improve this thing, I think the planning commission should focus on that instead of 15%, even if 30 or 60% reaches, how much improvement it will take place. About sanitation, we are talking of rural sanitation. In a Ashok Vihar colony where I lived, when I came in 1988, if it was a 5 days raining, hardly for 5 minutes waterlogging was there. But now, if it's a 5 minutes raining, for 5 days the waterlogging is there, and we are talking of sanitation of villages. I know that you won't be giving much time. I think one of my colleague, he said about the mindset, and you also touched that point. The mindset is to be changed. I think, strongly I think, the mindset of not the common people, not the other things has to be changed. The mindset of the politicians, from where the everything flows, is to be changed.
Thank you.
And I
sir.
end by
Thank you.
I end by saying the one thing of R.K. Lakshman, who gave a cartoon some 10 years back, 15 years back, saying that there seems to be a nexus existing between politicians and bureaucrats, politicians and planners, politicians and business people. But there doesn't seem to be a nexus existing between a politician and a common man. So please create a nexus between politician and a common man. The
Thank
things
you.
will improve.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Last point. No, I'm
yeah.
sorry. We can't take any more questions.
Just continuing with the earlier comment, you see, one feels the plans are very good on paper. Even if 50% of those plans were implemented, monitored, accountability was there, our country would have been a different place. So, where is the thinking going on those governance